you also tie these concepts into your visual art. You're a visual artist as well. You're not only a musician. Can you tell us a little bit more from the visual side of things?
Well, all of this, everything I do is 100% original. I'm gonna get out of the frame, you feel me?
Yeah.
The Best Alive, thebestalive.com. Just give me just a little OFlow show. Just a little bit. This is my creativity. I design clothes, I paint, I like to create. I don't like to limit my creativity because I feel that there's so much to learn on this planet that the minute that you shut yourself off from learning, you put yourself in a position where you're closing yourself off from the blessings of the planet. So if I was like, yo, I'm just gonna be a rapper and everything like that, and I'm not gonna do anything else, then basically I'm limiting myself on how I portray my rap, how I specifically communicate my rap to the world. That I could specifically, spit a rap and then, hey, I got the best alive on my arm, you already know. Plus I really got my charms and, just spit a storm, you feel me? And just ring the alarm and, it's like this. It's just your creativity and your expression. So, connecting the gaps between visual art, thinking about, how your photos are taken, how your videos are taken, how you connect that, and then you don't have to be the perfect at everything, but you need to know enough to be able to communicate your vision to others so others can see what you're doing. They can be like, okay, I can help you take that to the next level because maybe you don't like editing, for example, but you study enough editing so you know how to do it, and then you can communicate to a professional editor that, hey, I like this kind of cuts, I specifically like this type of flip, I like these type of VFX, and specifically now they're looking like you, this artist, this is a real artist, they know what they want.
Yes. Yeah. And then when you build with people like that, when you build with professionals, when you have enough knowledge to build with professionals, you get even better.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you an example. When I did my first album, I didn't know how to make beats. I made one beat on MPC, but that was it. I literally had a producer that me and my friend beatboxed our beats to. Some of the stuff we were able to play, but other stuff we were like, yo, can you figure this out?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And he'd be like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then he would show us how to program it in.
Yeah.
So then by the time I was done working on my first album, I actually bought the keyboard that we did the first album on, and I started making beats myself.
That's what's up.
Yeah,
that's what's up.
It's a fine line. Sometimes you got to work with professionals, but it's also self-mastery too. And we're in it to be able to fully communicate our whole vision. And it seems like you have the type of vision, as do I, that is limitless. You know what I mean? And for example, when I put together an album, I'm trying to do the music. I'm trying to be involved in the production.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be involved in the cover design, the promotion. And I'm trying to at least, even if I'm not doing it all, I'm trying to have a good understanding of what's happening.
Yeah, it's funny that you bring that up. So one of my stories is I started recording in highly professional studios since a little kid.
Yeah.
And for a big chunk of that time, I actually paid for my studio time myself. Mm-hmm. And I had really top-notch sound engineers that have platinums under their belts and everything like that. And I paid $80 an hour for a studio session, and it was well worth it because I'm dealing with the best of the best.
Yeah.
And imagine as a little kid having to make that money to pay for that studio time. So it inspired me first and foremost to use my time in the studio efficiently. So I would come in there and I would have a song ready and done within an hour that specifically sounded fire and on point because I made sure that everything was thought out before I hit the studio.
Yeah.
And that impacted me so that when I specifically wanted to, get into a position where I could just, do as much music as I wanted, I could specifically pump out a lot more music because I'm trained to be able to do a song within an hour.
And also, I gotta say, I got to give you credit, because when you're in there with an engineer, you're not just thinking about what you have to do. You're also thinking about the work that it's going to take him to do within that hour to get everything done for you, so that you can walk out of there with a song or MP3. Because he still has to bounce stuff down, put a rough mix on it. Exactly. So technically, he was probably getting it done in under an hour.
Actually, yeah, definitely under an hour.
Yeah.
So, yeah, a whole portion of that time is spent that specifically the engineer is mixing and mastering and specifically making it sound as good as possible. And with some of my newer projects, I push the boundaries of the sound engineer, because I'm like, yo, if I can do this, what can you do? And they're like, huh. And they're like, yeah, I might be thinking limited, or I might have limited beliefs on what I can do. So basically my sound engineers, and once they go through a process of working with me for a while, they get better at their craft, and they specifically start doing things faster. They start developing presets, knowing how to specifically to mix my voice faster. So yeah, I can technically now, with the right sound engineer, do music faster than that. But it's not about the speed, it's about the quality. And that's why I say specifically an hour, I can basically make a hit in an hour.
Yeah.
And
now, in the era that we're in, we have all kinds of things to accelerate our creativity as well. And I think you know where I'm going with this. We're talking about AI.
The greatest question of them all. The AI question.
Yeah, and it's really more like the AI conversation, because there's so many ways that we're using this now. And there's also, a lot of pushback too in the music community and in the visual art community from other artists and musicians who, of course, we grew up making it ourselves.
Yeah.
We grew up before the AI era. It's kids that are going to be born into this.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't born in the cell phone era.
Mm-hmm.
Cell phones didn't exist till I was 20.
Mm-hmm.
But my niece, she's born practically with the cell phone in her hand.
Yeah.
I think I was telling you, if you hand her a cell phone, she could crack your code in like under 5 minutes just messing around.
Yeah.
So, a lot of people who grew up in the era that we grew up in, they got qualms or whatever, but we're also seeing good uses for this. So I guess what I want to ask you is, what's your view on AI? What's your understanding of people's understandings, but also how are you using AI to accelerate what you're doing and make your art and creativity better?
Yeah, that's a really powerful one for me to touch on. So we're building our own AI algorithms, we're building our own systems, because that's actually where the creativity comes into play. If you're building your own AI algorithm, basically you can program it to fit your style, who you are, and then you can specifically utilize that to create many different forms of yourself and experiment with many different forms of yourself. Yes. To even improve upon the human being. So I remember, this is a random story, but I'm not going to go into too much detail. When I was in Venezuela, I shared a bus ride from one state to another state, and it so happens to be that someone decided to sit next to me, and it was a professor of AI.
How long ago was this?
Oh wow, this was, I believe, 2014, I believe, 2014 or 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And they said AI professor, data scientist, basically said AI will make anything and everything better. So during that time period, when I'm hearing this, I'm like, this is really interesting. And AI has been going through cycles. Everybody thinks like AI just came around with ChatGPT, but AI has been going through cycles. Every few years, there's a new innovation, and then people get wild by that and say, hey, AI is going to take over the world and everything like that. So everything you're seeing today is a cumulative buildup.
Yeah,
so
that's true.
This AI data scientist said, yo, AI is going to make everything better. And that hit me. And with one of those cycles, I believe there was a cycle in 2017 or 2016, 2017, where basically AI was getting some type of traction again. And I was like, I need to really look into this more. So I started looking into it and, just keeping my eye on the pulse. In 2019, I decided to do a neural networks course, a machine learning course. Basically courses. I did courses, and I would just speed through them. Actually, I was going through a difficult time in my life where specifically, I lost people and things of that sort in the physical realm. I was like, all right, I'm going to challenge myself. Instead of, falling into depression or anything like that, I'm going to do something that is more difficult, or what I would have deemed for my mental capacity impossible. So I delved into just, development, understanding AI, and that pushed me in a direction of realizing that, okay, as time was going by, that the investment in it and understanding it and being able to use it is that much more, because every single year the development of AI is just becoming more and more exponential. So basically we're building in the AI space. We're building everything from automation systems for content creation all the way to huge emphasis on marketing, and we're figuring out how to take the best of our capacity and then put it into the machine, and then have the machine basically amplify our capacity and then spit it back at us to specifically so that we become even better than the AI. Because at least in my personal opinion of humans, I don't think that human beings have reached their full human capacity of what they can do with their own mind and their own bodies.
Right.
So specifically, the AI can be used as a training tool for individuals to become that much better. And I was actually looking into something, I don't recall the exact study, but essentially AIs, that they're trying to figure out how to optimize AI so that AI can live up to its full potential. And they're essentially using human brain cells to specifically to manipulate AI, because specifically those petri dish sized brain cells, specifically they have the capacity of organic matter that can be programmed to basically do exponential things and control basically AI. And I'm not gonna pretend I'm the greatest AI genius in the world. I'm more a Bitcoiner, so my strength is Bitcoin. But as I told you guys, I don't limit myself. I want to learn as much as possible, and I've got partners who are way better than me in the AI field. I've got a partnership with an AI data scientist that specifically is helping me, learn and expand upon my knowledge, but I know enough to be able to say what I want, what I need, and the best tools to be able to build it. So I'm on the learning journey of AI. Right. For anyone who specifically knows more than me, I'm always open to sharing and learning more from anyone. But my big strengths is branding and marketing. Basically, I can brand and market anything, to basically sell anything. I only do things that I'm passionate about, that I love, that are real to me. And the two things that I'm focused on I'm highly passionate about is basically artistry and Bitcoin. Obviously, there's more to me than just these things, but in the simplicity of not overwhelming people with the fact that I like to dance, I like to sing, I like to do that. It's just make it simple. Yeah. Artistry and Bitcoin.
Right.